Looks really good.
It does.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Writers Chat. My name is Johnnie Alexander. I'm really happy to be with you here at Writers Chat. We talk about all things writing. I am joined today by Melissa and Rebecca and Sherry Lynn. It seems like a lot of our group is gone, but we know it's just a busy time. Bethany Jett is at a Serious Writer tour stop in Tallahassee today doing a one-day conference. And Jeannie is off too, and I honestly don't remember where she is. I'm sure she's having a good time wherever that might be. So we're talking today about our favorite writing books, craft books, and we have some things along that line to share with you. So we're just going to get started with that, and Sherilyn's going to be up first to talk about one of her favorite books.
Now, it's writing books and regular books?
I think writing social media craft books, things along that line. Let's kind of do those books first, and if we have time, then we can do other books as well. Hey, Rachel, glad you're here.
I'm reading How to Write a Book Proposal. This is a really, really good book. This book is from Writer's Digest by Jody Reen and Michael Larson. It pretty much gives a step-by-step on how to write a really good book proposal. Because that's what I'm doing. And writing book proposals for people and editing them and things like that. But that is really good. There's so many good writing books out there. I love Cecil Murphy's Writer to Writer. I have it over there, but I won't.
Yes.
I won't go run over and get it. But Cecil Murphy's Writer to Writer, it breaks down. It's like a devotion. It breaks down, like if you want to learn about point of view, he breaks it down into at least 13 different sections, so you can just read a portion of it, chew on it for the day, go on and read the next portion of it. It's really, really, really good. But there's so many good writers books out there.
There's an amazing number out there. Okay, that's great. I love what you said that you're using the book proposal, how to write a book proposal, not just because you're writing your own book proposals, but also because now this is something that you're doing for other people. And really, for you writers out there looking for something else to do, way to make money, and aren't we all looking for ways to make money through our writing? That can be a good way to earn some extra cash, is to get really good and familiar with different kinds of book proposals, the different elements of a book proposal, and how to put all those together, because we know different publishers, different agencies want different things. But if you have all the elements, then you can pull those together and make sure that you're following the agent guidelines, whatever agent.
That is so important, Johnnie. It doesn't matter how good your book proposal is, if you're not following the guidelines.
Yeah,
they're going to throw it out if it's not within their guidelines. So that's a great, great, great point, Johnnie.
Thanks. All right. Well, yes, please share titles of books in the chat. So, Sherilyn, I'm going to let you all do that on your books. Put your books titles in the chat, and I'm sure we're going to be able to. With the title, you can find it on Amazon. So there you go. Rebecca, why don't you share a couple of yours, and then we'll go to Melissa. Oh, can't hear you, sweetie.
Your sound's off, Rebecca.
Got you muted. There you I just I think we did it at the same time. So it's like, do that.
I'm just
I'm
just doing, sorry. Writer to Writer by Bodie and Brock Taney. I love their fiction already, and so I had to find out how they did it. And this book is more nuts and bolts for how to get started. It showed me the necessity of getting writer's market and pitching to different publications. It shows how to do it, and it lays a good foundation for if you've always wanted to write, but you think all you have to do is just sit down and start writing a book. And it kind of zapped me out of that mindset and made me realize, writing isn't just writing a book. It's a huge,
Wow.
it's a life. And
It's
so
a business.
it's a business.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to get your brain in business mode. So it's so good. I'll tell you one story that's in it really quick.
Okay.
Bodie Taney used to write for John Wayne, and
Really?
yes, and so on one of the projects, she was going to get to work with this amazing screenwriter who had written. I mean, he was a legend in their field, and she was collaborating with him on this project, and she was working day and night and day working on this, wanting to please him, you know. And so it was like maybe the day or the week before they had to have it ready. I think it was maybe the day before, and she was going over to his house, and she was going to put her massive amount of work with his, and they were going to make this amazing project. So she gets over there to his house, and he's an old man, and he's just, like I say, a legend. And she was so nervous to actually get to see him and come to his house. And so she comes into the house, and they sit down and they get to talking, and he's all happy and friendly and everything. But then they look at his desk, and it's completely neat. It's neat as a pin. And she's like, so she doesn't want to keep the small talk. She's like, where is it? And he's like, well, he's had writer's block this whole time, and he hasn't gotten anything.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I forget the details, but he dies like the next day, and I can't remember if or what, but it was like the pressure of all these past accomplishments had locked his brain, and he just quit. And she was talking about the importance of just keep going. And anyway, it's a great book.
That's a great example too, because that pressure can be really hard. You know, you hear like Harper Lee, who, you know, To Kill a Mockingbird was this great success, and she didn't write again. You know, even the book that came out later was actually written before To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
The Watchmen book, yeah, it's an older draft, and To Kill a Mockingbird was sort of drawn from it because an editor said, I think you need the main character to be this child rather than an adult. So, you know, I don't know whether that was her hang up or not, but, you know, I've read that as an example. So it can be really hard. You know, you always think, and I mean, I know I feel like this too, and not that I claim to have any of that kind of fame at all, but you know, just, you know, you do it, but it's always like, can I do this again? Can I even complete another story? And then you sit down and you have to put your little behind in the chair and just sit at that laptop or with pad and paper and just start scribbling things out. It's the only way it's going to get done. That's a great example, Rebecca. Thank you for that. Do you have another one to share? And then
Well, I do. It's not a writing book per se, but I think every writer needs this book. And I use it so much, and my kids swipe it so much that I lost the dust jacket. But I'll show you what it looks like. It's a new book. It just came out this year, or in October, I think. But it's called The Book of Amazing Stories by Robert Peterson. And this book, if you ever listen to Paul Harvey and the rest of the story, it's like that. He goes through different just stories of people. He's an amazing storyteller. And this is so helpful if you need to write articles or anything that you just need inspiration. This is amazing. And also, I wanted to tell y'all, he has started doing a Facebook group like this, just like Writers Chat. And it's right after Writers Chat. It's on Tuesdays at 12:50 Eastern or 11:50 Central. And he'll just get on there and he tells these stories. And the way he tells them is so, it just grabs you. He's an older man, and
Yeah, he's good.
you know,
oh, wow.
oh yeah. So
Okay, well, can you also then put that in the chat as well, and we'll put that in.
the link.
I don't think we actually do like show notes, but we'll put it in the Facebook group for those who don't have access to the
Okay.
chat. Hey, welcome, April. And Marlene, I want to welcome you too, and also Rachel, and whose name I spelled wrong when I said hi in the chat, and I'm sorry. If any of you have books that you want to share, make sure that you let us know so we can invite you on to do that. We'd love to have you tell us about some of your favorite books too. Okay, Melissa, what would you like to share with us?
Well, most of the books I brought were fiction, but
Okay.
I have
That's fine. I mean, we can just do whatever we need to do. So whatever you want to do.
nonfiction that I think a lot of people are familiar with, and that's Brandolyn Collins' Getting into Character. This is my all-time favorites, especially. I think it's an essential for fiction writers.
Oh, wow.
It gets down into the nitty-gritty of how you can make your characters more real to your readers, and you know, there is just so much in this book, and it's been a little while since I've read through it, so you know, I'm trying to remember a lot of it. But she talks about things like personalizing your characters, or one chapter is putting the spark of life into your characters' mannerisms. I mean, she gets down into the very little things, and I just love the book. You learn something new every time you go back through it. And it really did. It helped me and my fictional characters to really add some depth to them where they lacked it.
Oh, good, good. For those of you who are not on screen, please feel free to be on screen for this writer's chat, because we are sharing books, and if you have books you want to share, I want to make sure you have that opportunity. So this isn't our typical writer's chat where, you know, we try to record just a few faces at a time. So feel free to jump on, and if you have a book you want to share, please say so in the chat, so I'll know to bring you into the conversation, because we'd love to have that happen. Melissa's just been talking about Brandolyn's, excuse me, Collins' book, Getting into Character. Did I say that right? Is that
Yes.
right? Getting into Character. I started reading that on my Kindle, and then I got really involved with, I think, writing deadlines and stopped. But it's a book I want to go back to, because I agree with you. I didn't get real far into it, but was really impressed with those mannerisms and how she was talking about that. She comes to this from a theater background, an acting background.
Yeah, the subtitle is 7 Secrets a Novelist Can Learn from Actors.
Yeah.
I heard about that. I heard that if you want to be a good writer, as far as mannerisms and characters are concerned, learn acting. Take some acting courses, because you're getting cues on how to move, so you can use those while you're writing. I thought that was brilliant.
And it would be fun, wouldn't it? I mean, I'd be like the dorky one, like, why are you here, you untalented person? But, you know, but still, wouldn't it be fun?
Me too. Me too. It would be fun.
Just to do it? Yeah. Hi, if I didn't say hi to Norman, hi to Tina. Glad you guys are with us again. Let us know if you've got a book you want to share. We'd love to have you on to do that. Brandolyn, while we're talking about her, I'm just going to put this little pitch in. Brandolyn Collins is going to be the keynote speaker at the Mid-South Christian Writers Conference on Saturday, March 17th. So it's not too late to register for that. It's in Collierville, in Tennessee or Mississippi. I don't know. But it's right south of Memphis. So I know that. So it's in the Memphis area. So we would love to have anybody come who's able to do that. And April can tell me what state it actually is in, because I don't know. Who else? Anybody? Do you have another book, Melissa, did you say?
I have some fiction books that I love to share.
Okay, why don't you share a fiction book, and then we'll go back to Rebecca, and I also have a couple books, and then anybody else we want to know.
Well, Rebecca and I we mentioned our great love for Bodhi Taney.
Yeah.
So I bring out an all-favorite book of hers. It's the first book in her Galloway Chronicles series, Only the River Runs Free.
That's
And this one it's fantastic. I mean, I had to even try to re-find one of my favorite scenes in there, because she brings every sex to life in this one scene. It's just a scene where some of the minor characters get into a tavern and discuss a sale of cattle and stuff among brothers and their father. And she brings out the smells, the lighting, the sound you hear when you walk in, you forget you're reading and you're automatically into this scene. And it's one that I've actually just sat and studied because it's helped me with my own fiction writing too. So I really do believe that fiction can be a great self-help, just like with nonfiction.
Oh, yeah.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that too, because, we are told to use the five senses, and sometimes we forget about smell. I mean, that's one that's very easy to overlook and not really add to your fiction. So yes, when you find those passages in books that you read that just kind of really immerse you into the scene, keep a little thing of those little page marker things and just stick it on there so that you can go back and like Melissa said, just study it. It's like, how did she do that? How did she get me so into this story that I forgot I was reading a book, but I felt like I was right there, part of that conversation, and could smell it and hear it and do all of that stuff. All right, Rebecca?
Like Melissa is saying, her works, I mean, I buy duplicates so that I can mark them up, because she's the type that will make threads and they'll all come together. And I have 3 of her books too. I won't. Every time I turn, I'll talk about them.
I just got the very first book, I think, in the AD Chronicle series.
Yes, I've got that right here.
Because I like the history. I want to read the history, and my friend told me about it, and I'm like, I got to read that. I don't get to read a lot of what I want to read because my brain is so tired after reading submissions. So I mean, soon I'll be able to do that, but it's just, yeah, I want to read the biblical history and then the characters that she has in there.
Okay, I'm going to pause just a moment. Norma has asked about getting her video feed, and I think if you go down and get that little bottom menu to come up, what's the right button? There's a button there that's got a line through it, and you need to click on that. So
I'm got to move our mouse for it to come up.
Yeah, wait for your mouse. So, and I don't know if I can do that. If I would.
Can you hear me audibly?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I have the microphone and the video at the bottom, but I don't have anything with a.
It might say something like video.
Yeah, it says video stop.
Well, that's what mine says too. And so,
see if that worked.
I'm sorry, Norma. I'm not.
That's okay. It's okay. It's all good.
But yeah, tell us about your book.
Me?
Yeah. Do you have one to share?
Oh gosh, I have so many. It was hard to choose.
We all know that feeling.
One of my all-time favorite though is This Present Darkness by Frank Peretti. I was just telling one of the ladies at my Bible study last night that this book is just phenomenal because it just gives you such a picture into the spirit world. I think Frank Peretti was given a gift by God to understand spiritual things probably more than most of us, and it is fiction, but it feels like there's a lot of spiritual truth there. Just as Jesus told a lot of stories with spiritual truths. So that's just, and seeing how the characters get out of their messes and things like that. And he just has a way with just pulling you into the story where you can hear and feel like you're just right in the middle of it. It's just, that's one of my top time all favorite books.
Yeah, I like that story too for the way it made you think, oh my gosh, there's so much more going on.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah. Marlene, do you have a book to share with us? We're glad that you were able to get on so we could see you.
I appreciate that. I didn't really come prepared, and I didn't really know if you wanted a book about writing or a fiction book.
Yeah, I think we've decided we're just going to, be flexible as we usually are. So, if you guys have any handy, share it with us.
fiction book that I discovered T. Davis Bunn for the first time.
Yeah.
Winner
I
take all.
read that one, but he's so good.
I just found it.
There's Norma.
Yay!
I just found it fascinating how he kept my interest because he kept making me ask questions about what was going on, and the way he kept describing things using word pictures and different literary devices. It was fascinating, and I'm like, one of these days I'm going to start writing down the phrases and where I got them because even though I write Bible studies, I still have to keep everybody's attention.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic. I had the honor of interviewing him for my Novelist Unwind website, and I was just kind of sitting there listening. It wasn't much of an interview. It was just me listening because he's so brilliant and just has so much wisdom to share. So I'll just put a plug in for that. It's on the Novelist Unwind website. You can find that interview.
Oh, great.
Video. So the audio is kind of off. We were having some microphone problems, but it's worth it. Really, he's got some fun stories to tell, and it was really, really good. So yeah, took that in there too.
I think one of the most fascinating books that we could use if we want to write fiction is to use the Bible, because God is the best storyteller there ever was.
Absolutely.
There's all kinds of devices to keep attention, especially women. And it seems their stories are especially make you want to ask questions and be curious.
Yeah.
And then when you think in between the lines at all the nuances, it's pretty amazing. So I enjoy that.
Yeah, that's great. You're right. Who else? Karen, glad that you could join us this morning. Tina, Karen, you have a book? Tina, unmute. Let me
think of right now as far as recommending would be our keynoter, Tosca Lee.
Yeah.
Tosca Lee is amazing at sensory description. She's great at doing research. She really thoroughly researches her biblical history, characters. Her writing is delicious. It's amazing. I study her writing as much as I'm reading it, and I enjoy it.
She was the keynote speaker at the Florida Christian Writers Conference that just ended this past Sunday, and really she had rules of writing, and they were really good. I'm trying to think off the top. I know the second one was get the clay on the wheel, and that was the one I really loved. It's just get it down, get it written. Okay, well, tell us if you've got that. Please tell us.
Write like no one will ever read it. That was number one.
Ooh.
Forget. And then she had get the clay on the wheel, and then know where your greatness lays.
Whichever.
Say that one. And then edit as though the right people, which is your audience, will read this. So, did you have any more after that? Those were the four that I got.
Those were the four. Yes, that was it. Yeah, I love those too. Yeah, we could probably just do a whole writer's chat on those. But.
And she has those on her site, the Asylum, right? They're listed.
Yes.
Okay. So she has written. I hate to say this. I've not yet read one of her books, but I definitely will. So Tina, can you tell us a couple titles, the books that you especially love from her?
Well, my favorite is Demon, but I tend to like some dark stuff. So if you're not into the darker kinds of things, probably Sheba. The Legend of Sheba is amazing. It's a great example of research, and again, that sensory description is so vivid and powerful in her writing. Great emotional depth in her characters as well.
Oh, great.
Sheba has a prequel book, Insemine, I think is how you say it. I read that one too. It's like Sheba's mother from her.
Oh, really?
Oh,
It's
wow.
really good. It was kind of like a teaser to get everybody into Sheba. And yeah.
We are adding.
Everything she writes is good.
Yeah, we're adding to your to-do list. So, or not to-do list, your TBR list. Yeah, to be read list. I think it's fascinating. She wrote a book about Eve. So, I mean, I would like to read.
Oh, yeah.
Because that just seems like difficult. Yeah, just a very difficult.
I can get them off my shelf if you want to see what they look like.
Okay, sure. Yeah, love to. Love to.
Johnny, I have a fiction book afterward that I'd like to share. Not fiction, it's actually nonfiction, but it's...
Okay. We will go to you after we watch. We're going to stare at Tina as she for the books on her shelf.
Here's Hava. I think I let somebody borrow my demon book and they didn't give it back to me.
Okay.
That demon. No, I'm joking.
That demon took it. That's cute. All right.
I look forward to reading these books.
Yeah, me too. Sherilyn?
I very rarely have time to read books twice, but this one I've read 3 times, Practicing His Presence by Brother Lawrence.
Yes.
And I just want to read one line and tell you why it's so important to me. I know mostly everybody here that watches Genre Chat are believers, and some people aren't, but Brother Lawrence was a monk who dedicated his life to serving and pleasing God, and his mission was to have a continual conscious contact with him. And he says, the moment I turn to him, God, it is like turning on an electric current, which I feel through my whole being.
Ooh,
Wow.
That's good.
But the Bible says to pray continually and just to be talking to the Lord all day. And Brother Lawrence, I mean, washing dishes, shining shoes. This is his, it's his sort of like his diary of how he does it. And when I get in a place where I'm just kind of disgruntled or whatever, I think of this guy and thinking, you know, he washed dishes. He didn't really talk to too many people, but he was always talking to and praising God. He found joy in washing dishes and doing and the menial things. And when you read this, it just, to me, especially if you have writer's block, pick this up. You know, it'll give us something to praise God about, but Practicing His Presence, just a great, great book.
Sherilyn, who is that by again?
Brother Lawrence, and it says Frank Laubach, but there's if you look up Practicing His Presence, I think there's another guy who, I can't remember who he was, who kind of wrote a prequel, then, you know, how he does it, and then shared Brother Lawrence's story, and then how he's continuing to do it.
Okay.
So if you just Google Practicing His Presence, you'll probably find it, but you might even be able to get it on Kindle for free.
Yay. I love my Kindle.
It's so worth it. It's so worth it. It's not a book to convict you. It's a book to encourage you.
Nice. We always need encouragement, don't we?
Well, on that note, let me share. Oh my gosh, here it is. I wasn't actually going to talk about writing this, or talk about this book in particular, but I know it's a favorite of Bethany, Jeannie's, and mine. And
yes, Dancing does.
Here, so I thought, yeah, I can grab it easy. Dancing on the Head of a Pin by Robert Benson, and it has been a while since I read it, but it's actually more just like these little essays, and it's very encouraging and very inspirational. So it's in my basket of books, of course not right now, because as most of you know, all my stuff's in storage, so I'm not sure exactly where it is. But when my stuff is not in storage, I have a basket of books that are like special books. That idea actually comes from Robert Benson. He spoke at Florida Christian Writers Conference a couple of years ago, and he keeps on a bookshelf a lamp and like 6 of his favorite books to read over and over again, and keeps that lamp on all the time. And other books by that same author may be elsewhere on the shelf, but he's got those 6. And so I've got this little basket, and I've got that book in it usually, and My Utmost for His Highest is in it. And
that's one of my favorite books.
Me too.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
I'm actually reading it again this year, so it's not in it it's here.
Yes, I love it.
Yes, here with me. And, right off the top of my head, I can't remember. I think the one by Anne Morrow Lindbergh is in there as well, the one about the seashells. Anyone know what that book is? I'll have to think about it. Anyway, so that's an idea. I don't keep a lamp and a light on all the time, but, just have that basket of books that just are so meaningful to you, and you just want to kind of go back to them again and again and again. Oh, The Silmarillion by Tolkien, because that's actually my favorite Tolkien book is in there. So, that would be a good question we can pose on Writer's Chat. If you just had 6 books, what books would you have in your basket?
Whew, that's a tough question. Just like trying to talk about only one book is a tough question.
It is. But it is those books that you go back to again and again because they feed you again and again. Like, I've read at most 3 or 4 times, and yet reading it again this year after not having read it a couple years, it's like, reading it for the first time. Because, just kind of thing. No, nobody mentioned Bird by Bird. And you know what? I have to say, I have never read that book. I mean to all the time, and I know it is just like the classic. Tina, do you want to talk about it?
It is beautifully written and very personal and transparent. So I think that is a really great example of how to make nonfiction engaging. And Anne Vosky, too. I love her writing. She's a beautiful poetic writer, and yet she communicates a nonfiction message using that lyrical prose approach. And I like that. I like the weaving of the fiction techniques into the nonfiction.
And Anne has her own style. I mean, you're not going to be able to copy Anne at all. She has her very own unique voice and her own way of twisting words around and saying things. And Tina's right, it's absolutely beautiful. But she's got a gift because nobody can do it quite like she does. She's one of those very unique people.
And yet she says someone told her when she was younger she would never be able to write anything, that she was a terrible writer. Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
No. I'm glad that she didn't listen and that she stuck with that voice God had given her instead of trying to turn it to something more what the market might expect or want. That somebody gave her the freedom just to stick with that voice and use it. It's fantastic.
I've heard that. I've talked to several writers with Genre Chat, and quite a few of them have said that their teachers have told them they'd never write, they shouldn't even try. I mean, and most of them are like either bestsellers or well-read or beautiful writers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
We love our teachers, but they don't always know because we grow.
And don't listen to that. I mean, if you feel God's call, and I mean, there's craft, and actually those are the books I was going to talk about, but I want to give everybody else a chance first. The craft is so important, and you have to learn the craft. But a great story idea isn't enough. Talent isn't enough. You have to have that craft too. So, I'm glad you're with us. I know Rebecca's got more because she's told me she did. So you want to share a couple more books with us?
Your mic's still.
You're muted, and I'm not touching it. Hands off.
Well, Sherry Lynn was talking about the 80 Chronicles, which are amazing. Bodhi Taney started out writing about the rebirth of Israel and World War II, and those are amazing. So and then the Ireland ones. And when she announced that she was going to go back to the time of Christ, I was thinking, I don't know if she can pull that off because she's so good at this where she's at. I don't know, but these are my favorites. Especially book 4, 5, and 6 about when Jesus was born. Absolutely incredible. I mean, we named our twins because of that. I don't know if a lot of people don't realize this, but there is a very small series and it fits in right before the 80 Chronicles. And I was going to tell Sherry Lynn, these are maybe even better. And there's this one scene where it's in one of the lamb birthing caves, in Bethlehem, where Jesus is going to end up being born. And there's a scene where a ewe, I guess, has twins, and one of the twins is not going to make it, and it dies. And another one. I mean, this is where they raise the lambs for the sacrifices and everything, which is so cool because that was where Jesus was born. So many things they bring out like that. But in one of these caves, this baby lamb dies, and the master shepherd Zadok takes another who is dying in childbirth at the same time, and so he strips the lambskin off of the baby lamb that died, and he covers it. This other ewe dies in childbirth, a different one, and the mother that bore the twins is a really good sheep, and she's a really good mother. So the master shepherd knows that she is going to reject this other lamb, but this other lamb needs a mother to suckle on. So he takes the lambskin off of this dead lamb and covers this motherless lamb and brings it over. And because she smells her own dead lambs, she accepts it. And I was pregnant with twins at the time, so I was always scared. I was already scared of childbirth, but I cried so hard when I read that. I was trying to read it to my husband, and I couldn't go on, so he started crying. It was just like, wow. So good. So good. And I have not done it justice. You just need to read it.
Can you hold the book up again so we can?
I'm not sure if it was this one. There's three: the Scrolls of Jerusalem, Stones of Jerusalem, and Jerusalem's Hope.
Okay.
All three of them are incredible. So good.
Thank you for that. That's good. April.
All right, I'm on that computer I had trouble with last.
Oh, yes. And you're going to have trouble with it again today. But the best, yes. Does anyone know, is anyone else familiar with that book? Tina, I muted you. Hold on. Anyone else familiar with the best, yes? Want to talk about it? An overwhelmed schedule. That's great. Is it how to say no? Yeah. I'm sorry, April, that the microphone's not working on yours. Okay, I can't see the title. Rhythm of Growth. Rhythm of Growth. Does anyone know that book? Okay. What I'm going to ask you to do is, April, if you get a chance, can you put something in the Writers Chat Facebook group about both those books so we can know about them? And thanks to everybody for all the book ideas and book titles you're putting in the chat. I really appreciate that. Let's remember to save it. I'll try to remember to save it before we end the meeting too. Melissa? I'm not hearing you, sweetie.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Now, yeah.
Okay, I saved the chat too.
Oh, so, thank you. Great.
So if they type the titles in and the authors, they'll be there, and I can post them.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, Melissa's doing that. Thank you so much. All right, well, I'm going to give you a couple, and I'm going to screen share because I don't have these books with me. Those of you who are regulars in Writers Chat may realize that I'm actually sitting where Bethany usually sits because I'm at her house and she's not here. And yes, I know I have the bow in my hair. We were talking about that before we started recording. See the bow? And kind of laughing about that. So I don't have the books with me that I wanted to talk about, but I did put them on my computer. And if this works, there we go. I'm going to screen share it so you can see it. Called to Create, a biblical invitation to create, innovate, and risk, which isn't just about writing, it's about being an entrepreneur. And is one of the main themes of this book is that God was the first entrepreneur. And to define our call, he suggests we ask ourselves 3 questions. What are we passionate about? The second question is really important because it's not just what we're passionate about, it's also what we're good at, what gifts we have, because we may be really passionate about something like music, for example, but if we really don't have musical talent, we're not going to get very far in that. So it's what are we passionate about? What are we also good at? And where can we glorify God and serve others using that same passion? So whether it's creating really good shoes, he talks about, that Tom's shoes, and he's got all kinds of great stories in there. So that's a good book about creating, innovating, and risk. That's the subtitle. And then the other one, okay, it's not going to let me scroll, so I can't show you that title. It's called Writing with Quiet Hands. And I will have to put that in the, there we go, stop share. I'll have to put that in the Facebook group too, and I don't know the name of the author off the top of my head, but it also is talking about craft and the importance of that. And that's where the whole talent is not enough. As great story idea is not enough. We have to have that craft, and we have to practice it. And practice leads to competency, and competency leads to confidence. So the wonderful book about just quiet hands. I mean, I just love the whole concept. It's a lot of good ideas for writing craft, how to do that. Thank you, Rebecca, for putting that one in there. And I'll get the other one too. Put it in the Facebook group. Anyone else have anything they want to share? We've got about 5 minutes or so.
Strunk and White is always good.
Yes, it is. Elements of Style, Strunk and White. Chicago Manual of Style, the latest edition of that is really good if you want to know the latest punctuation rules, grammar rules. If you're not sure if you write, yes, there it is. At 10 o'clock a.m., is it a period? Is that capitalized? Is it lowercase? It'll give you the answer, all kinds of things like that. And it's really not that expensive. It's like $17, $18. You can get it, and it's a good book to have. The Christian Writer's Manual of Style. I'm not as familiar with that, but I suppose it tells you things like capitalizing deity according to what the CBA market prefers and those kinds of things. I will tell you that lots of times if you don't know the answer to those kinds of questions and you're writing your book and you don't know who's going to buy it, so you don't know, the main thing is to be consistent. If you want to capitalize deity pronouns, capitalize them, but be consistent. If it's a publishing house that does not do that, they will take care of it. They will not reject your manuscript because you capitalize deity pronouns. They'll just change them if they want to. And if you don't do it, same thing. And they want to, they'll do it. They'll take care of it. So those were great. Thank you, April, for sharing those. Christian Writers Market, yes. And yes, Writing with Quiet Hands by Paula Munier. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, but that is it. And it's an excellent book. Christian Writers Market is really important, especially if you're writing, doing freelance magazines. Melissa, do you want to talk about it? Do you use it frequently? You're nodding your head. So it's like,
I did get it, and two, you can subscribe to it on Stephen Lobby's site, the Christian Writers Market. You can get the digital online version, or you can order the book itself, or in Kindle version too.
oh wow.
So, yeah, if you go to Stephen Lobby's literary agency, his site, he has the Christian Writers Market.
Great. Is someone putting that in the chat, his link? I know it. It's just stevelobby.com, so if someone can stick it in there. Marlene's leaving. Bye. I was looking for you. Bye. We're so glad you joined us this morning. You come back. What do you have? Oh, I know that book.
I'm sorry. I was writer's chat. I was thinking about the chat box instead of the video. Anyway, I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thanks for being here today and sharing. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, April has Write His Answer. Is it Marlene Bagnall? It's a writer's devotion, and it's really, really good. I've got a copy of it too. Okay, Christian Writers Market Guide is in there. Thank you, Tina, for adding that. It is good because, especially I think if you do the online version, because you can get those updates, because they update those, I think, as the year goes on. And if you're going to do magazines, it's just got all this information about who the editor is, how much they pay, what they're wanting. Sometimes it'll just give you tips if you're new, how you might break in, all those kinds of things. And of course, another plug for writers conferences. If you're really wanting to meet editors and get face-to-face with somebody, it's a great way to do that and to take your stuff and show them and building those networks and those connections. And just because we are kind of winding up, I'm going to give a shout out to Tina because she did a fabulous workshop. It was one of the extended workshops on Saturday, and I had the privilege of attending. So it was 3 hours, 4 hours? It was long, but the time went by so fast. Can you just tell us a little bit about your workshop real quick?
It was called Psyched Characters, How to Build Vivid Characters Using Psychological Principles. So we went into personalities and all the things that can go into the backstory and the current reactions of a character and what real trauma would look like and what mental health disorders would look like, as well as the interactions between characters and how to make those accurate and between the character and their culture and all of these different things that would create a lot of depth for the characters and emotional tension for the story.
And then she was able, we had the time, so she asked, for specifics, and people were able to say, well, here's my character and what they're dealing with. And Tina would give feedback right there and then we had got to kind of all share, a little bit. So it became a group activity, and it was just amazing and so much fun to help develop these characters for these, unpublished writers are just, breaking in and working on their stories. And I love going to conferences. There's so much imagination and creativity in those rooms. And I just sit in awe sometimes thinking, oh God, we're all here together and there's just so much. And how pleased you must be. It's just great. It's just great. It was fun. A lot of fun. Rebecca, you got another one?
Well, this is kind of silly, but actually my daughter took it, so I'll Okay, this is an author that I picked up this one book to do a review on because it sounded so much like my plot, and I thought, oh boy, somebody's already picked it. It was a little different, but it was so well written, and it was pretty intimidating to read. This is not the same one, but I became so addicted to her writing. Kathy Golke, I think you say. Has anybody heard of her?
I know who she is, yeah.
She is amazing. I love her writing. This one is called William Henry is a Fine Name. And it's the story of a little boy or a 13-year-old boy who has a slave for a best friend. And so you see through his eyes as he kind of comes of age and sees what it's really like as his friend tries to run away, and he's thinking, it's, your life isn't that bad, is it? And then he realizes just how bad it is. And he has to take a stand, a very uncomfortable stand. And he has to decide where he's going to stand. And it's the same stand we all have to take at some point, or we just straddle a fence. It's just, she's a page turner. So good.
I think she's got a couple World War II stories out too. I'm sorry. So, and I haven't read this either, but she's on my list. I think I have one of her books on my Kindle. Yeah.
You'll love it. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, this has been fun. And one last chance. Time for one more, I think, if anyone has something they want to pop up real quick.
Fiction-wise, there's an author, Dee Henderson, that I like a lot. My favorite of hers is a series called the O'Malley series. And it's a series of 6 books, and each book is based on a different character. And the premise is these 6 kids were in an orphanage together, and none of them were adopted, and they decided that once they all aged out, they would change their name to one name, and they would be their own family. Oh, wow. And so it's really neat. It's called the O'Malley series. I was adopted, so I love stories like that. So to me, she writes well for what I like. I guess it would be considered a cozy mystery. And so, each character, each book, they're in trouble, and the family pulls together, and they're very enjoyable. I've read them at least the whole series at least twice.
Wow. I love that premise. I mean, that's fascinating. It's so interesting. Yeah. Cool. All right. Anyone else? Well, I also neglected to see what we've got going on next week. Does anyone know? I'm we've got
Yeah.
Melissa and Rebecca are on our writers chat administration team. So it's like, do one of you guys I want to know?
I'm going to be interviewing Jolena Petersham.
Right, that's right.
She's an Amish fiction writer who also has started combining some apocalyptic stuff in there. She's amazing, and she pulls it off. She was a Christie finalist this past year, and she's just cute as a button. And she is the one who gave my husband my phone number when I was yelling at her too. I was not happy about it. She yelled out the window. I was taking her home from church, and she yelled out the window, "Can I be your flower girl?" And we weren't even talking. I was so mad at her. But
Apparently, God gave her insight.
yeah,
Apparently. Oh my gosh.
you'll love her. She's so sweet.
Yeah. I actually was thinking of her this morning, but it just, so I knew it was coming up, but it didn't, great. That'll be next Tuesday. So until then, everybody have a great week. Stay on for the after party. If you're watching on the replay, we're really glad you joined us and hope you'll come again, and do feel free if you're able to. We do this every Tuesday morning at 11 Eastern, 10 Central, and would love to have you be part of the program. Thanks so much. Have a great week. Bye-bye.